Hello everyone. Back again with film recaps. In this video, I'm going to recap one of the thriller suspense films from 2024, titled Trap. Before we get to the storyline, I'd like to wish everyone a happy and great day. Without further ado, let's get straight to the storyline. The movie opens in Philadelphia, where we meet a man named Cooper Adams, and his daughter Riley. At the moment, they are on their way to a pop music concert featuring a singer named Lady Raven. Riley is a huge fan of the singer, so her father is treating her to the concert as a reward for her good grades. Soon after, the two arrive at the venue, and wait in line with the rest of the crowd to get into the stadium. Cooper notices there are a few officers outside before entering the building. Riley then joins a dance group, and has a fun time while Cooper records her. Afterward, she opens up about the problems she's facing at school due to a bully girl named Jody. But Cooper asks her not to worry about it today and simply enjoy the concert. Next, the two make their way to their stadium seats. Cooper again notices several police officers stationed at every corner, which makes him worried. The concert then begins, and the crowd erupts in screams when Lady Raven appears. After a few songs, Cooper asks his daughter to stay in her spot, and excuses himself to use the restroom. Once there, he takes out his phone, enters a passcode, and checks on a young man through a CCTV camera. The man's hands are tied and he's locked in a basement, indicating that he's being held hostage. Cooper then proceeds to wash his hands, but then he notices an old woman in the bathroom, but she disappears moments later. While returning to the concert, he encounters Jody's mother, who seems extra chatty. Cooper expresses his displeasure with Jody's actions toward Riley, and the woman apologizes and promises to speak with her daughter. Meanwhile, we see a large number of SWAT teams and FBI agents appear outside the stadium. As the father has returned to his seat, he notices multiple officers bring one man from the crowd outside. During the concert break, Cooper and Riley attempt to purchase a merchandise t-shirt, but there's only one left. Another girl argues that she arrived first, so Cooper convinces Riley to give up the t-shirt. The attendant, Jamie, comments that they appear to be a nice family, so he mentions that more stock has arrived in the storage room and invites them to meet him again in 10 minutes. Cooper then introduces himself, and speaks with Jamie privately, asking why there are cops and cameras on every corner. The attendant sneakily explains that the police have received information that the notorious serial killer, known as the Butcher, is expected to be here today. The entire concert is actually a trap for him, and the police have sealed all exits. The only way out is through the backstage area, where no one is permitted to go. Jamie urges Cooper not to tell anyone about this. Later on, Cooper becomes increasingly restless, and he starts looking around. He soon notices a drunk woman standing in front of a stairwell, and pushes her down, diverting the attention of the guards. Cooper then informs Riley that he wants to go outside, which confuses her. But when he sees some FBI agents at the door, he cancels his plan. With a sense of nervousness, Cooper returns to the concert with his daughter. Later in the show, Lady Raven invites another artist to join her for a duet performance. To everyone's surprise, the artist makes a grand entrance from beneath the floor. This intrigues Cooper, and he suggests to Riley that they should climb down and see what's underneath, but she's weirded out by the idea and refuses. He then states that he will go get the merchandise t-shirt for her. Shortly after, Cooper meets with Jamie, who takes him to the storage room. They engage in casual conversation during which Cooper reveals that he's a firefighter. He then covertly steals Jamie's employee key card while helping the guy lifting a box. Cooper also asks if they have apprehended the Butcher, to which Jamie responds that they haven't. He explains that every employee is aware of the trap, and has a secret code to use if they get stopped by police. When Cooper asks what the code is, Jamie reveals that it is Hamilton. After receiving the t-shirt, Cooper wanders around looking for an escape route. He uses the access card, and soon comes across a break room where an FBI agent is briefing the team on how to catch the Butcher. Cooper walks into the room, pretending to be an employee, and grabs a coffee. As he departs, he steals one of the officer's walkie-talkies. Outside, he runs into Jody's mother again, who wants to resolve their daughter's relationship. Cooper tries to dismiss her, but she persists and doesn't stop talking. Suddenly, they hear a commotion, and discover that someone has been arrested. Cooper notices an elderly woman named Dr. Josephine Grant, who turns out to be the FBI's top profiler. Upon returning to the concert, Cooper plugs in his earphones and listens to the walkie-talkie. He hears Josephine speaking, revealing that the person arrested earlier is not the butcher, but another fugitive. She mentions that the butcher is very smart, and doesn't panic easily. The unit commander then goes over the suspect profile, noting that the culprit is a middle-aged man with an animal tattoo on his wrist. Cooper looks at his hand and notices the lamb tattoo, which worries him. He quickly grabs a nearby band, and uses it to cover his wrist. Next, he informs his daughter that he left his credit card at the t-shirt stand, and must return to retrieve it. Later on, he's about to activate the fire alarm, but overhears Josephine saying that the butcher will most likely use panic to his advantage, such as triggering the fire alarm or causing an explosion. She explains that in such cases, only women and children will be permitted to leave. Realizing that this woman is one step ahead of him, Cooper decides to abandon this plan. Afterward, he sneaks into the kitchen area, and throws 2 glass oil bottles into a boiling fryer. This causes an explosion, and one of the employees is severely injured in the process. Taking advantage of the distraction, Cooper steals an apron and heads to the rooftop, intending to flee. However, his plans are thwarted when he's confronted by 2 officers there. Cooper claims to be a kitchen worker, and says he came to the rooftop to clear his mind after the explosion incident. The officers ask him about the code, and he confidently responds with Hamilton. This convinces them that he's just a regular guy, so they let him go. When Cooper returns downstairs, he sees the injured employee being transported in an ambulance. He also spots the old woman he saw earlier in the bathroom, but she quickly vanishes. Cooper then comes across Riley, who has been looking for him. She questions his strange behavior, and he explains that he ran into Jody's mother again. Riley then asks him to stay with her for the remainder of the concert, to which he agrees. Later, at the concert, Cooper learns from his daughter that Lady Raven is going to choose someone to perform with her on her next song. This person also will be permitted to go backstage, which sparks an idea in Cooper. He realizes that if he can get Riley chosen, they'll be able to leave the venue without being confronted by the cops. And so, Cooper approaches Raven's manager, who is also her uncle. He introduces himself, and starts rambling about how Lady Raven has been an inspiration to young girls. He then discusses his daughter, Riley, claiming that she's a devoted fan of Raven, and is recovering from leukemia. Cooper also claims that his daughter doesn't want to talk about it, and prefers to hide her struggles. Later, we see that his sob story actually works, and the touched manager chooses Riley to perform on stage alongside Lady Raven. Following this, the father and daughter are taken backstage by the manager, and Cooper realizes there are a lot of officers guarding. The officers are initially reluctant to let them enter, but the manager shares Riley's story about her leukemia and convinces them. Up next, the 2 wait behind the stage. Riley soon arrives on stage, and joyfully starts performing alongside her idol, Lady Raven. This infuriates the bully Jody and her mom so much that they start arguing with each other in the middle of the concert. After the concert ends, Cooper and Riley head toward the backstage exit, but he's irritated to discover that cops are there as well. He listens to the walkie-talkie, and hears Josephine instructing her team to inspect each man leaving the venue. Furthermore, he discovers that Lady Raven is aware of the situation, and it was her idea to capture the killer today. Shortly after, she arrives to bid Riley farewell, and Cooper decides to take drastic action. He requests a private conversation with her, stating that he wants to discuss his daughter's condition. The singer doesn't think much of it and agrees. The 2 then enter the makeup room, and it is at this point that Cooper informs Lady Raven that he is, in fact, the butcher. He confidently states that the trap she and the authorities have set for him won't deter him from leaving. Cooper also shows her footage of the man he has held hostage, revealing that his name is Spencer, and he's only 22 years old. Cooper says that he can easily release carbon monoxide into the room using his phone, which would kill Spencer instantly. He demands Lady Raven's help in safely exiting the venue in her limousine, or threatens to kill Spencer. Upon hearing this, Lady Raven is terrified, but cannot bear the thought of an innocent man dying. She therefore has no choice, but to escort the father and daughter out without being stopped by the cops, while the other people are being checked at the entrance. Later, they all get in her limo, and Lady Raven suddenly asks Riley if she can come to her house. The little girl enthusiastically agrees, while Cooper suspects Lady Raven has some ulterior motives. However, he cannot refuse his daughter as well since she adores the singer. Upon their arrival, Lady Raven meets the rest of the family, including Cooper's wife, Rachel, and their little son. They appear to be a normal family, and the singer realizes they must be unaware of Cooper's heinous actions. Rachel then invites her inside, and Lady Raven accepts without hesitation. However, Cooper warns her privately that if she says or does anything clever, Spencer will die. Afterward, Lady Raven tells the family about the butcher who was supposed to be at the concert. She reveals that the cops discovered a portion of a ticket to her concert at one of the killer's hideouts. Moreover, she reveals that the killer has a strained relationship with his mother, who was the first to notice his psychopath tendencies. Hearing this, Cooper becomes agitated, and tells her that she doesn't have to stay here to be polite, and that he can walk her out. However, Lady Raven suddenly asks if she can play a song on their piano. The family eagerly agrees, which only frustrates Cooper further. After playing a beautiful song, Lady Raven grabs Cooper's phone to take a selfie with Riley. She then quickly gets up and heads into the family bathroom with the phone. This infuriates Cooper, and he begins pounding on the door, asking for his phone back. During this, the singer communicates with Spencer via the CCTV camera. She asks him for any hints about his whereabouts, and Spencer reveals that the house has a blue door, and a broken lion statue on a nearby street. Following this, Lady Raven goes live on her social media account to inform her followers about Spencer's kidnapping. She asks if anyone in the Philadelphia or New Jersey area has seen a broken lion statue, and a house with a blue door. To her surprise, one of her fans recognizes the description, and offers to help. The singer then urges her driver to contact the police. Meanwhile, Cooper is still banging on the door, with Rachel pleading with him to stop. Lady Raven then loudly informs Rachel that her husband is the butcher, and everything suddenly goes silent. And then this happens.
May I have my phone?
Cooper manages to break into the bathroom, and get back his phone. When he examines the CCTV footage though, he is shocked to discover that Spencer is gone. Lady Raven tries to question Cooper about his family, but he remains silent. He leads her to his wife's car in the garage, intending to drive off somewhere else. During this time, Lady Raven attempts to manipulate him by speaking like his mother, and urging him to be a good son. This approach works briefly, and Cooper becomes emotional, revealing how his mother used to punish him a lot. Lady Raven explains that he doesn't need to continue down this path, and they can get him help. However, Cooper reveals that this will be his last murder, and afterward, he plans to unalive himself as well. Just as Cooper is about to drive away, he notices his family standing outside the garage. The little girl can't stop crying and asks her father what's going on. Upon hearing this, Cooper becomes emotional as he realizes he has finally allowed his two lives to intersect. Lady Raven then calmly exits the vehicle and joins the family, while Cooper closes the garage door and locks himself inside. Meanwhile, police, FBI agents, and several SWAT officers arrive and surround the house. The family is driven to safety, while Lady Raven waits inside her limo. Unfortunately, the police soon learn that a neighbor witnessed Cooper leaving their front entrance. It turns out that the mastermind had built an escape tunnel from his kitchen to the neighbor's yard. But moments later, we learn that Cooper has disguised himself using a SWAT uniform, and driving the limousine off with Lady Raven. He handcuffs the singer, and then drives away. He's taking her to one of his abandoned houses. But after a while of driving, they become stuck in heavy traffic. Lady Raven seizes the opportunity and manages to open the car window. She calls for help from passers-by. Up next, she manages to slip out of the handcuffs, and carefully exits the vehicle. As a result, the cops soon arrive, and shoot at the limousine's tires to prevent Cooper from fleeing. However, when they check inside, they are shocked to discover that the killer has vanished once again. We then see Cooper walking away from the scene in a hoodie he found in the vehicle. In the following scene, Lady Raven greets and thanks the fan who recognized Spencer's location and called the police. She then approaches and comforts Spencer, who is still traumatized by what happened. Sometime later, we see that Rachel is back at the house, while her children are staying with her sister. Josephine warns her that it is dangerous for her to be here, but Rachel insists that she doesn't want to be around people. The FBI agent then explains that she has stationed 2 officers outside the house in case Cooper returns. Afterward, Rachel watches the video footage of Spencer's kidnapping, before heading to the kitchen to prepare dinner. But to her horror, she is soon confronted by her husband, who is sitting at the kitchen table. Cooper questions her about how the police got a lead on him, and wonders if Rachel was involved. Although she denies it, Cooper can sense she is lying. In the end, Rachel admits her involvement. She explains that she first suspected Cooper of cheating on her, because he would come home late. However, something didn't sit right with her, especially since she often smelled cleaning fluid on his clothes. So, one day, Rachel decided to follow Cooper to one of the abandoned houses. After he left, she broke in, and discovered only a chair and a table. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, she followed her instincts, and set him up by leaving a torn receipt for the concert ticket, and then calling the police. Rachel tearfully admits that she had hoped the police investigation would prove her suspicions incorrect. Hearing this, an enraged Cooper seems ready to kill her, but she insists they finish the pie she made for Riley. The man surprisingly agrees, and sits down to eat with her. As they dine, Cooper expresses his anger toward Rachel, saying that because of her, he will never see his children again. He explains that after he kills her, he will kill himself as well. But then, seconds later, Cooper becomes dizzy, so Rachel reveals that she drugged his slice of pie with pills from his tool bag. Cooper admits he only used them to calm the victims. In his dazed state, Cooper stands up and sees the vision of the same old woman he had been seeing throughout the concert. It turns out to be his mother, and she was abusive to him when he was younger. As a result, whenever he felt the desire to kill, he had brief flashbacks to his past. The woman tells him to stop his violent behavior, and assures him that he's not a monster. She begs him to come to her, stating that she has finally accepted him for who he is. Upon hearing this, Cooper feels emotional and moves toward the figure of his mother. However, as soon as he enters the living room, he is subdued by a police officer with a taser. It turns out that the conversation he assumed he was having with his mother was actually with Josephine. Cooper is then arrested, and led outside to a heavily guarded vehicle. On his way, he notices Riley's fallen bicycle on the path, and briefly stops to set it upright. At this moment, the kids also arrive, and Riley embraces her father tearfully as a final goodbye. Cooper then enters the police vehicle without protest, and drives away from there. In the final scene, the camera pans to the bicycle that he has just set upright. But one of its spokes is missing, and it turns out to be hidden inside Cooper's sleeve. He takes it out discreetly and uses it to unlock his handcuffs. We then see him free himself and laugh maniacally, implying that he's about to escape once again. Okay guys, thanks for watching. See you again in the next video.